I just started the recording since it is technically noon. So I guess I can kind of just jump in and get started with everybody. You have options for video and mute on the Zoom screen. So I do ask that everybody stays muted during the class, just so that I can get through everything. I have an assistant, Vanessa. She is my co-host. So as you're typing messages in the chat, she will be the one that's responding to you, because I have a tendency to squirrel out a little bit. So I am just going to try to stay focused because I have a lot that I want to accomplish in today's class. So if anybody needs to use the restroom first, or if you have a cell phone and you're not using it specifically for this class, if you wouldn't mind turning your cell phone on mute too, so that it doesn't ring. And we shouldn't be able to hear it in theory if you're on mute anyways, but just to, I think it's a standard disclosure I have to give. Let me get over to this. I'm going to just give everybody a quick second. If we have anytime at the end of class, I will be able to answer a couple of questions. I do have a lot that I'm cramming into today's course, so I'm very excited to get going. I have been chomping at the bit to teach this stuff to everybody. So let's see where to start. Okay, so let's see, who do we have here? We have Vanessa, Nancy, hi, Vanessa, Abigail, Kimberly, Lori, Rebecca. Let's see, I'm seeing 7 people so far. So I know there were a few people that already reached out to me to let me know that they weren't going to be on the live class today because they had prior obligations. I expect that to happen probably to a few people every week. That's why we're recording this. So just so that everybody's aware, this is being recorded so that you can go back and watch it later, because I do teach fast. So all right, and then there's a little thing at the bottom in chat where you can talk, like I said, back and forth with Vanessa. She'll answer. If you look to the right, there's a little button that says everyone, or you can just send a message to Vanessa. Also, there's little reactions that you can click on, like clapping, thumbs up, party on, shocked face, raise hand. So that'll be helpful during class too. You can do all different sorts of emojis. If you raise your hand, Vanessa most likely will be the one that responds to you. So don't think I'm ignoring you. I am just going to be very focused, or at least as focused as possible. So I will be sharing my screen with you. So I will be clicking between a couple of PowerPoints because I have an introduction, and then we'll start into class 1. So is everybody ready? All right, I'm going to jump on over into class number 1. So let's see, well, class 1 being the introduction. So there we go. And here we are. So hopefully everybody can see that. I'm going to move myself up into the corner here. Yeah, maybe I'll put myself in the middle. Who knows? All right. So welcome to the Can You Be a Medium course. I'm excited that everybody's here today. I'm going to go through a few different things along the way about, kind of like keeping notes and stuff like that. So let's just jump into it. All right. So first and foremost, everyone should have a glass of water with them at all times. Water is your friend. Please keep it available so that you can, here's my demonstration. I'm a Yeti fan. And there's a reason for this. It's because it is incredibly valuable to keep you hydrated, obviously, and to keep you clear. Let's see. Okay, and then now we're on to your toolbox. So as we go through the course, we're going to be building and adding to what I call your toolbox. It is good to have notebooks. Sometimes I suggest that people have a separate notebook. I also keep one on each side just in case my left and right hand both want to write at the same time. So keep a notebook, at least one handy, and then label a few pages your notebook, or on your notebook, the toolbox, because I will point out the different tools as we go through the class, and you'll want to track them because they're invaluable. All right, see, notebooks. Note takers are dream makers. People that take notes are generally apt to learn the information much better, because that way you're kind of concreting it in your mind as you're writing it down. And then you can go back later and review your notes. Like I was saying a second ago, it'd be good to possibly have 1, 2, or even possibly 3 different notebooks handy so that you can keep separate notes. One's for class notes. Glossary of terms. As we go through here, I will be describing different terminology and definitions. So it might be handy to have a separate notebook for that. Otherwise, you can just keep it in your class notes. And then your toolbox, which is what I was just describing. So, okay, my teaching style. I teach a lot and I teach very fast. Sometimes I have to remind myself to slow down. So, but part of it is because I have a short amount of time to share all of the information that I have to share with you. Basically a lifetime of knowledge I'm going to be cramming into, 11 weeks. So you will want to take notes, then go back and review the video afterwards to kind of refresh if you'd like to. So hang on just a second here. Okay. And next, questions. As we're going through the classes, you will probably have questions. Please take note of them, write them down so you do not forget. And like I said, at the end of class, if we have time, I will go and answer a couple of the questions. Just remember to keep them brief, to the point, and kind of focused onto one topic. Let's see. The rest of your questions, if you don't mind holding on to them, we will have a Q&A session at the end of week 5. So at the end of the class that day, we'll actually go straight into the Q&A session, and you can ask as many questions as you'd like to. Just remember to hold on to them. You may be able to go back and review through the video and answer some of the questions along the way. So again, at the end of week 5 and week 10, we'll have the live Q&As. They'll be held for about an hour at the end of those classes. Expectations. You will want to practice what I teach. Practice makes perfect. I say 10 to 15 minutes a day minimum, but obviously everyone's going to do what they are going to do. All I can say is the more you practice, the better you'll get at the techniques that I teach in this class. So it's really more for you than me. I already have these nailed. So let's see here. Keep on hand pencils or pens. You'll want to keep a couple spare ones just in case one dies in the middle of class and you're struggling to find one. Another thing too, if you happen to have a small quartz sphere, this is mine. I don't actually look into it to do readings, but it is a handy tool. I'll actually take it and rub it between my hands because it kind of helps keep your mind open while your body is physically distracted. So if you do not have a little tiny quartz sphere, keep a marble. A large marble will actually work. It'll kind of hold the same place. So plus it gives you a killer hand massage. All right, now on to lesson 1. So I'm going to escape out of this and go into that. Let's see here. All right. So here we go. All right, safety first. One of the biggest things when I asked people to recommend topics that they were struggling with was in the safety department. A lot of people had doubts and fears, and so
your slides are frozen.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see, how do we go to that? Okay, so I'm gonna stop screen sharing just for a second. Sorry for the glitches, guys. Gotta love technology. Let's see if I can go back into this now. And all right. Is it working now? Yes, no?
Yes, sorry, it didn't want to unmute me.
Okay, okay, good to know. All right, let's jump back in. Okay, can you be a medium? Safety first. Like I was saying, a big part of it is people were very concerned about fears and doubts. So I'm going to go into that in this class. Again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have some water handy. It is the #1 tool in your toolbox to start off with. Water is not only good for cleansing your physical body, but it also helps with cleansing the energy in your body. So as we go through the class, you're going to you might have some awakening moments. You may have some ahas. You may experience different things, different energies. So keeping that water handy, keep things flushing. And then same thing with after class. I just am an absolute huge fan of water for what it does for you, both physically and energetically. So let's see if I can out-talk my slides. All right, energies and water. If you're feeling energies, working with spirits, connecting with your empathic abilities, or doing any type of energetic or spiritual work, water must be there. Again, huge fan of it. I will do readings, and because I'm doing one after the next, keeping yourself cleansed physically and energetically is a huge important tool in your little arsenal. So let's see, water will cleanse any of the excess energies or emotions that you may pick up while doing this work, or just in general. Hugely important also if you're very empathic, water will help you with that. So I even put in here, even if you are at work around others, you want to drink water to keep their ickies off of you. It will make you feel better. How many people work with, have a work environment where they have people that have their stresses, their issues that they're dealing with? You don't want to take that stuff on. So water will help keep that clear. All right, fears and doubts. Are we still doing okay with the slides? Can everybody still see them? So, all right, Vanessa, just let me know if they stop again. Right, fears and doubts. So you can see this guy is clearly freaked out, and there's his red flag. Let's address fears and doubts that come along with opening up your abilities. This is a huge topic for people that are just kind of scratching the surface, or even I was in a situation where when I was younger, I literally wanted nothing to do with my abilities, wasn't interested. And nevertheless, they would still, ghosts would pop in, things would happen. I was scared to death of it. And so like I said, if you're not interested in going this direction, definitely not the right class for you. But if you're not interested in what's going on, or if you're scared of what's going on, that will actually send up a red flag for you to pay attention to. Fears are also a tool for us to recognize when something negative is going on, or just simply somebody's trying to get your attention. That's why I call them red flags. They're feelings that pop up when we are faced with something that we either don't know or don't understand. So knowledge is the key here. The more you know about what's going on, the less of a fear will exist. So knowledge is power, right? Who's ever heard that? All right. The fear bubble. For years, people have been taught to surround themselves with a bubble of white light to protect themselves when faced with fear. I call this the fear bubble, quote unquote, because even though it is great as an emergency tool to use, like say you walk into a situation, all of a sudden you feel like there might be some ickies trying to get to you, great to use the fear bubble. Surrounding yourself with white light was even a tool that I was taught when I was growing up. My mom used to teach us that. Yes, my sister and I come from a very interesting family. So the fear bubble is useful, like I said, in emergency states only. The reason I don't like people to use that often is because I'm going to teach you a way to keep your space clear energetically and keep yourself clear so that you no longer have to worry about that. If you put up a fear bubble, the reason I call it that is because you're sending off an energy that says, I'm scared of whatever is trying to get to me right now. Obviously, I think I'm part Italian, so bear with my hands popping into the video. When you are in a situation where those things are trying to attack you and you're sending off this energy of fear, you're basically feeding into exactly whatever this icky entity is wanting from you. Fear is like food for them. So the reason that I don't like people to use it is because you can recognize the fear as a flag, a red flag, and then clear the space, clear whatever is trying to attack you so that you don't have to worry about that. Energy tools. So kind of, again, touching on the fear thing, I'm just going to kind of go into that a little more. It is always much better to use your energy tools to handle situations that create fear. The tools, like I said, I'm going to be teaching in today's class so that you can get a really good, healthy jump start so that you're not going to, as we go along and you start kind of like spiritually evolving, spiritually ascending, however you want to put it, going through your spiritual awakening, you may notice more going on around you. So that's when I'm saying, don't necessarily just be afraid of everything that comes out. Recognize the fear and then assess whether or not that's something scary. And if it is scary to you, clear it with energy. Doubts. Doubts can be both a bad thing and a normal thing. So they're bad when you use them to block yourself. How many times do you find yourself doubting a message that you receive and going, oh, I don't want to share that because someone's going to think I'm crazy? Or you're second guessing yourself, or for some reason you completely shut down your abilities when you have these doubts because you'd rather go into sleeper mode. And I'll explain that later on too. Sleeper mode is like for people that are really going through the levels, ascending through the levels of abilities. But you do not want to use doubts to block yourself. You want to use doubt as a tool to kind of evaluate, why am I feeling like this? Why am I afraid to share this message with somebody? Okay, so our goal here is to kind of eliminate fears and doubts out of your system so that you can use your knowledge again as your power source to be able to start being comfortable with sharing messages and not second guessing yourself, which will block you. Okay, and it helps you sometimes by releasing those messages, it can actually help you to start clearing out those blocks too. So doubts are normal. We have these as a signal. I can talk. We have these as a signal to self-check. Again, double checking with ourselves to be able to see if, is this a message I should share with this person, or is this message meant for this person, or is it meant for me? That's sometimes an occurrence that happens too. Like fears, doubts tend to occur when you don't understand something. Everyone that has abilities also has doubts. Every single person. I have been doing this for years and years and years. And I will still get nervous going into sessions because sometimes those doubts jump up and I'm not interested now. Sometimes those doubts will pop up because we weren't taught to use our sixth senses as a normal part of our lives. I don't know about you, but when I was in elementary school, nobody talked about psychic abilities. So not even until I was older. The only person that talked about it was my family. So when we do receive messages, they can be either confusing or hard to understand. Sometimes those messages may not make sense to us right away. In those kind of situations, that's when I have people use their journal. It's really good to be able to kind of write things in your notebook so that you can kind of keep track of things that pop in. Why was this confusing? You may be receiving a message about something that just hasn't happened yet. So of course that would be confusing, right? So back to this, thus doubts put us in a situation of either not listening or not sharing. So this is what we're trying to avoid in this class. In this class, we're trying to overcome fears and doubts. So I like my little karate guy who's kicking the wall to overcome his fears and doubts. When you are first working on expanding with your abilities, the best thing to help you with overcoming both your fears and doubts is to put the messages that you receive into your confidence log. So that one of those notebooks that I was talking about having handy, you can label that your confidence log, because it's always good to, some people call them dream journals. So they only use them for recording dreams. I really want people to use this as a log of messages that they receive or intuitive moments, things along those lines, so that you can start really noticing the pattern in your messages and start overcoming those doubts. So you can do that either in a notebook. I actually have on my phone, on my cell phone, because sometimes that's more handy, because if you're like me, it's pretty much your third arm. So having a notebook on your phone is sometimes invaluable. You know, you don't always have a notebook to carry around. I mean, it's not like you're going to be at the grocery store with a notebook in hand. So having it available on your phone or somewhere convenient is invaluable, so that you can write those things down when they happen, so that you don't forget them. Then you can go back to see if the messages were valid or if they came to fruition. All right, moving along. Messages. Messages can include experiences like visions, hearing messages, signs, random smells or taste. Everybody has a very unique way of receiving messages. So when you are receiving a message, sometimes it might be just an idea that pops into your head. Write it down, put it in your confidence log. It may be something that's, my mom is a prime example. She says that she'll smell perfume sometimes and it reminds her of her mom, my grandmother. And so that's a random smell. And that doesn't mean that it was coming along with verbal annotations for like messages, but it does mean that she's still sensing something there. Signs. How many of you see 1111 or 222, 333, 444? I mean, those are also signs. When we get a sign like that, I always tell my clients to write down the message or the idea or whatever concept popped in at that time. Were you thinking about somebody? Were you, did you look at the clock and all of a sudden you go, oh, that's mom? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you want to put down in your log so that way you can kind of go back and see what's consistent. 1111, mom. So sometimes they are just instinct, intuition that jumps in. Sometimes it'll feel like you are receiving, maybe literally you look up and you see a sign that says stop, but instead of your car just stopping, you actually feel like it resonates more strongly with you for some reason. Take some time to evaluate that, not necessarily while you're driving, but when you have time to take a step back and kind of sit down and evaluate, why did that pop out at me so much? That's a good time to, reevaluate what the message was. Good example. See, mom. You're in the kitchen and suddenly a smell makes you think of your mother. I wonder where I got that example from because I just gave it to you. So what do? Do you, for some people, if their mother's passed, that might just make them feel like they've got love coming through. For others who still have their mothers on this planet, like we do, sometimes you have that smell, you think of your mom, and then what do? Do you feel like you need to call her? Do you need to talk to her? If that's the instinct that you're getting, if that's your intuitive feeling, then you want to follow up with that message. Part of removing fears and doubts is follow through. You want to be able to listen to the messages you're receiving. And that's why, again, write them in a confidence log. I may sound like a broken record sometimes, but I swear it's for a reason. Listening, putting that tool in your toolbox. I'll give you a minute to write that down. Because when you hear a message come through or feel a message come through, or you instinctively, like I said, you smell something that makes you think of your mom and you think, gosh, I should call her, then there's a good chance that you should call her. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. And my mom's like, oh my gosh, you have amazing timing. I was just going to call you. That's part of what this is. It also, like I said, helps you remove some of those fears and doubts. So I think we've covered messages a bit now. So I'm going to jump into energy. What is energy and white light? So without going too deep into this, energy is all around us. Everything is made up of energy. The desk that my computer is sitting on, my computer, it's not just electricity that's coming through the line to help me hear you or to brighten up my face with this beautiful light that my son got me. There are many forms of energy. And so since everything is energy, everything can become a way of changing energy. So white light is a form of energy that I have found is the strongest form of energy that seems to exist. White light is like, how do I put this? You always, I'm sure everybody here has heard of, when people have near-death experiences, or when someone dies, they crossed into the light, they saw the light. That light is white light. White light is basically a pure form of love. It's the highest form of energy that exists. So when we're using light for the exercise that I'm about to show you how to do, energy is so important to recognize because that white light energy is what I want you to focus on. So instead of, trying to focus on every other kind of form of electricity or energy, that kind, we're talking about like the kind that's all around us. Okay. So for this exercise, we call this the circle. I'm going to step back just a second here, and then I'm going to show you my hands. So I want everybody to just take a second and roll up my sleeves a little bit here, and take your hands and rub them together rapidly. For anybody that's here that's worked with me before, they probably already know what this is. So what you're doing is you're kind of heating up your hands, right? Well, heat is also a form of energy. So now I want you to take your hands after you rub them together. Okay, rub, rub, rub. And then pull your hands apart slowly and then kind of push them together and kind of do what I call this is like a push and pull. Okay, so you're going to pull and push, and you should feel a form of resistance, kind of like if you put two magnets together on opposing sides, they kind of go woo, and they don't want to click together. There should be a form of energy that is doing the same thing. So you should be able to feel your energetic field. Some people call it Nora, but if you do this, you can kind of feel that energy. Okay, I want you to rub your hands again really quick, and then we're going to do the circle. So I want you to put your hand out like this. Use your pointer finger. I'm going to put my hand really close, and just use your pointer finger and go in a circle really slow over the top of your palm. And then the goal is that you can feel the circle. So for all of you that could feel the circle, give yourself a little clap, a little pat on the back. And for those of you, if you weren't able to do that, just practice, add that to your little homework assignment. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. So this is energy continued. So we're going to kind of go along with the same exercise that we were just doing. All right, so rub, rub, rub. And push and pull. So it says pull hands apart slowly. I should probably read my own directions. I'm so used to doing this. So then you're doing the push and pull, where you slowly move your hands in and out while feeling the energy ball forming between your hands. So while you're doing this, I want you to use your visualization skills. Okay, so you're going to use your imagination, okay, if you will, and start forming a ball of energy. Okay, so see how the guy kind of goes like that on my picture? You can do that too, whatever's comfortable. And try to create the largest ball that you can kind of feel and imagine. I'll probably have everybody try to shoot for the size of like a soccer ball or a basketball. Okay, and again, this will require practice, but I can feel my hands. Like my hands, you can't tell the size on the screen, but my hands are as far away as about a basketball right now. Okay, so practice, forming that energy ball, and make that energy ball out of white light, kind of like a glowing sun. Okay, that's what we're shooting for. So kind of shows, this is kind of a generic example of what we're putting together. So it's like a big glowing sun in between your hands so that you have this energy. So by doing that, what you're kind of telling your mind and your abilities is that, hey, not only can I see this in my mind, and even if you're struggling to see it in your mind, if you can feel this, at least your body is giving you kind of a reference point for the fact that you really are working with energy right now. Okay. It's fun to show this to your kids too, by the way. All right. So what you were just doing is a way for me to show you that we have energy around us and that we can feel it when we try. So sometimes we need a gentle reminder that we actually have all of this energy around us. It's easy to forget because we live in a 3D world, a three-dimensional. And so what we can't see, touch, feel, a lot of times is hard to wrap our brain around. So this kind of helps you wrap your brain around it because it does give you at least a little bit of a physical sensation of the energy that you're working with. All right, I'm going to cover this really quick too. Quantum energy. Probably check my time because I tend to talk a lot. All right, we're doing good. Quantum energy is the energy that exists between the spaces, between the atoms, and everything that exists. So I know there's a lot of exists in that sentence. I'm sure my sister's lecturing me in the back of her head. The reason I did that is because you need to know that this quantum energy exists. The quantum is kind of the unknown in which science is kind of, until recently, poo-pooed off to the side. That quantum energy is the energy that allows us to recognize how the world actually works at the atomic level. We're just kind of little bits of energy. Like we are not solid beings. Like my grandfather used to say that if we could concentrate hard enough, that we could actually put our hand right through a table. Why does that happen? Because of the quantum, because we would be able to separate ourselves down to the atomic level and put our hand right through a physical table. Have I ever done that? No, that is not my strong suit. But from what I understand, it exists. So quantum, even Google is working on quantum computers now. So quantum is a large topic that science is finally wrapping its brain around. But for our purposes, just understanding that energy is there and how it works is important, because we're working with every form of energy in this class. So because of the fact that we can utilize the energy around us when we learn and know how to use it, it's just one of those things when you're working on clearing with energy, you want to understand that the energy is really there. Even in the air, there's just energy everywhere that we can kind of suck in. So, right, your meat suit. That's this thing. That's our shell. It's our vehicle. It's the equivalent of us getting into a car. We are the being on the inside. We are our soul. We are the energy being that exists within this meat suit. So just like you would maintain a car, you want to maintain your meat suit. The better your meat suit functions, the better your energy functions, the more you can go do. So you want to maintain it, clean it, feed it the right fuel, and enjoy the perks of using your meat suit while you have one. When I say feed it the right fuel, there's a lot of discussion among psychics and mediums about what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. I have noticed the only thing that I can say when it comes to eating and doing sessions is that I eat as little as possible before I do sessions, because I don't want my meat suit, the energy from my meat suit, being sucked into my stomach for digestive purposes when I'm trying to use my energy to do a session for somebody. When I'm trying to read for somebody, it seems to be more of a distraction than a help. So that's just me, but that's also why I keep my water on board, because that way, I do a few sessions, you will be hungry afterwards, because then you're using all this energy, not just the energy that is within you, but the energy that all this exterior energy that you're getting to help you see and communicate with the other side or intuitively connect. That energy needs replenishing too. So I still feel that food's important, but I still like food. Chocolate's my friend. Just remember that you are the energy that is within your meat suit, the driver. That is the key to this slide right now, because knowing that you are on the inside, I mean, how many of us are a little older, but we still feel like we have a 16-year-old on the inside? Sometimes 5, depending on the day, sometimes older, but our energy is what dictates who we really are. So just recognize that meat suit's just taking care of your car. Fun one. All right, so on to world's fastest meditation. Move this just a tiny baby hair. All right, world's fastest meditation. This is actually a meditation that was shown to me by my guides due to my lack of time for clearing and meditation in between clients. So when I would see clients, I mean, I don't know how many of you have much experience. Everybody's experience level is kind of varied from beginner to experienced in this course. So when I was, I guess, a hypothetical newbie at doing this, I started going to these shows and sitting with clients one after the next, after the next, after the next. And I was absolutely exhausted a few clients in, and I couldn't figure out why. So what I learned from my guides was how to do this world's fastest meditation. It helps you to center your mind. It helps you clear and heal your body. And it really helps you to refocus. So I'm going to teach you this so that, hang on, because I believe I have it on the next slide. Yes, I do. So I'm going to bounce back really quick. You can do this meditation so quickly when you're used to it, when you practice, that you can, I have managed to tackle this meditation in literally 3 breaths. Like I could do it 3 times and bada bing, bada boom, I'm clear and I'm refocused. So here's how we're going to do this. So everybody kind of set your pen down for a second. because you can go back and you can, for any of you who want to, you can screenshot this. I'm okay with that. That way you can print it off later, or you can take a picture of it with your phone. It is one of the best tools that my guides have ever shown me, hands down. So, all right, let's do this. So this is a little exercise. So hopefully you're all in a comfortable seated position already. You don't have to be laying down for this, because like I said, this is something you should be able to do in between seeing people or in a pinch, All right, so go ahead and take a deep breath in through your nose. And then breathe out. Now, while you're breathing in, I want you to focus that white light energy that we were working with earlier. I want you to focus that white light, breathing it in, kind of in through the nose, and then exhale through your mouth. While you're breathing in that light, I want you to start filling up your head. So fill up your head all the way to your shoulders. Exhale. Now, when you're exhaling through your mouth, I want you to focus on gray clouds coming out. When you are stressed or have anxiety, any of those negative energies, any of the icky energy that you've taken on possibly with a client, or you shouldn't be, but we'll get to that later. But if you happen to feel like something's off in your energy, you want to be able to do this. So breathe in, fill up as much of your body as you can with that white light. Just picture it in your mind, and then out slowly with the gray clouds. Even if you're not seeing clients and you just have a stressful situation that you've been through or even in the middle of, you can very quietly just kind of go, you don't have to make the noise. You can just breathe in, breathe out, and still do that meditation. Just the breathing process alone helps to reoxygenate the blood. It helps you to refocus. For the energy, that white light energy literally clears everything out. So you're clearing and you're healing your body at the same time. So if you're not feeling good, I do this with my stomach, actually. Sometimes I will actually do the world's fastest meditation, so that I can, like if I have a stomach ache or something, then I can clear out that pain. It works amazing. So this is one of those things that you want to repeat until you have visualized the white light energy filling your body from head to toe, so stem to stern. And once you've done that, once it's from head to toe, then you're finished. So like I said, it may take you a minute, 30 seconds, a minute. Once you get really good at it, you'll be able to get through it quickly, and it'll become one of your tools in your toolbox. So make sure that you write that down, world's fastest meditation, put that in your toolbox. And I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you for this first class. That's why you'll want to go back and practice these things. I will have the recording uploaded as quickly as I can after this is done. So let's see here. 1 second. Just checking something. Okay. Onto white light clearing. So what is white light? Like I was explaining earlier, it's the strongest and cleanest form of energy. It is pure love. It is pure light. So kind of like you see this sun in the middle, this glowing mass in between the hands over here. It's very easy to visualize that. So if you need a reference point, use this picture as a reference point for this exercise, okay? So now that you know how to clear your body with white light, now I'm going to teach you how to clear your space. Okay, before I jump into that though, I do want to explain a couple of things. For those of you that love sage and smudging, so sage is a tool, okay? It's not a tool in this class because our tool is white light clearing, okay? But sage is a clearing tool that a lot of people use. I compare sage to opening up the doors of your house and trying to sweep the dirt out. So you're sweeping, and it cleans it just for a minute, but then the dirt comes slowly back in because the doors are wide open, okay? I am a big fan of sweetgrass and Palo Santo just because I think they smell fantastic, and they are a higher vibration. They're higher vibration than sages. So if you need a visual aid to help you clear, while you're practicing how to do this white light clearing, sweetgrass and Palo Santo, I'm a big fan of. So That's more of the equivalent, instead of leaving the doors open and sweeping and letting the dirt come back in. That is closer to closing the doors and mopping. So now the floors are cleaner, and it lasts a little bit longer because it was a higher vibration object that you used, but nevertheless, it has to be repeated more often. So I'm going to take a sip of water really quick. All right. So how to do a space clearing with white light energy balls. That sounds funny. So you're going to have a ball of energy, just like in the picture. Okay. Remember, push and pull. Okay. So you build your white light energy ball, and then use that same visualization to place the ball in the middle of the room. Some of you will get to a point where you no longer need to do this to justify that there's a white light energy ball there. Some of you will be able to just picture the white light energy ball in the center of the room. Okay. So picture that ball floating in the middle of the room. Okay. So follow along with me here and see if you can visualize this. Now I want you to see the ball growing, similar to how a balloon expands when you blow air into it. The white light ball will expand out. Okay. So have it expand, and then have it kind of just blow up and have it go through everything in the room. When you do that, you want to have it go through the ceiling, through the walls, through the floor. And it's good to practice one room at a time instead of trying to tackle a whole house. Even I still do one room at a time, just because I can focus on one space easier than I can focus on the whole kit and caboodle at once. Okay. So practice that, like I said, from ceiling to floor and through the walls and the furnishings. It will clear everything. When you get used to using the visualization techniques, you'll also notice if you hit a bump. I call these bumps. So if you hit a spot, like as you're visualizing this clearing through the room and something doesn't want to go through something, why is that? So then you'll just want to focus specifically on that spot, just in case there's any extra ickies, just zap them. So this is my way of explaining how to zap a space, because the energy flows so freely and is so readily available for us that we can use this anywhere we're at. So like, say you go to somebody's house and you walk in. I mean, how many of you have gone to a friend's house and as soon as you walk in the door, you're like, whoa, and you kind of get taken back by the energy in the space? Maybe not even necessarily recognizing that it's actually energy that you're being taken back by, but that it's just feels heavy or icky, right? So if you're going to have to be in a space like that for a while, white light energy is a fantastic tool, because it's not like you're busting out a sage stick, telling your friend, hang on, I'm going to fill your house up with smoke so that we can clear out this feeling that I've got. That's when they look at you funny. With the white light energy ball, you can just focus it in the middle of the space and have it clear, and it will clear out what it needs to clear out. I know a lot of people talk about asking for permission, like asking somebody for permission for that. I truly believe that the universe will not allow it if you are not supposed to help with that space. Okay. So you need to make a decision on your ethical boundaries for that. If you have a friend that is a good enough friend, you can go up to her and say, hey, can I help you with this? That might be a good suggestion. Otherwise, if you're in some random person's house and you have to be there for a while, instead of putting a fear bubble around you, see, going back to that fear bubble, you don't want to have to do that the entire time you're somewhere. It's easier to just clear the space, and you're actually kind of doing them a favor. So again, use your intuition, bounce it off your ethics, make sure that you are aware of whether that's a comfortable thing or not. Okay. All right. So go ahead and add to your toolbox white light clearing, and we'll move on. Love how I compared it to mopping the floor. Keeping it clear is extremely important to keep yourself and your space energetically clear while learning. So whatever space you're in right now, this is one of the reasons I wanted to walk you through all those exercises. Clearing yourself, you always want to clear yourself first. Okay. Numero uno, clear yourself first. That way your energy is nice and crispy clean. And if anything kind of came off of you because of it, it always drops down to the ground anyways, because heavy energy always sinks down into the earth. That's what helps kind of, decompose things from what I understand from a little bit more earthy side of things. When you are, hang on a second, let's see here. So you want to make sure that you are keeping the energy at a high frequency level. So when you are learning and we're going through these exercises, clearing yourself, boom, clear your space. So all the ickies are out of there. This gives you a nice, comfortable, high vibration space to be able to work in. I mean, because you don't want to work in a space that has a bunch of ick floating around. So it's the same thing when you have a client, like say, come into your space. So, you know, I have clients that come to my office, and some of them have very heavy energy because they're going through a lot. And by the time I'm done working on them, I say that loosely, done with the session. Sometimes I clear people while I'm doing sessions. So when I'm done working on them, they feel great, but a lot of times they'll leave kind of their crap behind. So that's why I always clear myself, clear my space, keep my space. You want to keep your space in a high frequency level, high vibration. And it helps you learn easier too. Clearing your space with energy is like mopping your floors and closing the doors versus sweeping with the doors open, using sage, etc. It's almost like we covered that already. So I'm going to move along. Grounding. Why you should ground and clear in between clients. Again, clearing out previous guests for those of you that are mediums that are working on communicating with the other side. Good reason to want to keep your space clear, and why you want to ground. Grounding in between sessions or active psychic work helps to calm and keep your own energy in check. I have to ground. I'm going to pull these out. Let's see, where did I put them? Right here. Of course, I kept them easy access. I have these little things called boji stones. That's what they look like, for those of you that don't know what these are. So there's a male and female, but they're very heavy and they're extremely grounding. I mean, you can even go outside, you know, that old saying, hug a tree. You can ground that way, actually. You can go outside if it's actually not snowing profusely outside. You can go out and put your feet in dirt. That helps with grounding. Sometimes just going and taking a few breaths. World's fastest meditation helps you ground. It clears your energy, but something heavy like a stone, that can help you ground. That's very helpful. I even suggest to some of my clients too, because we happen to live by a river, you know, in a lake. So going over to pick a stone from that area, something that's nice and smooth that you can kind of keep in the palm of your hand. You can even use that. That's a free tool. So clearing your space not only creates a clean slate in between sessions, but also raises the frequency and vibration. We kind of covered that already. So just remember clearing, you know, clear yourself, clear your space, ground, especially, you know, like I don't like to ground a ton in between clients. I will clear myself and clear my space, but usually I'll wait until I'm finished seeing people for the day to really do a solid grounding. So, okay, whoops, there we go, flipping back and forth. Emotions. If you ever feel like you're in danger or your fear flag jumps up, remember to recognize the situation and energetically clear it. So we will go in further into emotions a little deeper into the course. It's a few classes away because emotions are a very, very valuable tool. Recognition, being able to recognize your own emotions, especially for those of you that are, you know, highly empathic, being able to recognize your emotions is so important, because you can't tell the difference between your own emotions and somebody else's emotions if you aren't able to recognize it. So one of the biggest things that I will be repeating throughout the course is recognize, because the more you learn to recognize what's going on around you, the more in tune your senses will become, and the less fear there will be attached to it. Okay. So I'm going to throw this in here because I don't know too many people that haven't, at least people that have abilities that haven't experienced this at least once in their life. It's called a psychic attack. Okay. Have you ever, you know, I'm going to give you the example. I'm just going to read it. You're just waking up and feel as though you're being spiritually attacked, usually preceded by paralysis. Your first instinct is usually fear. At that point, recognize the fear flag and then change the fear into a clearing tool. So obviously you have World's Fastest Meditation, But when you're in the middle of a psychic attack, that doesn't always jump on board. Your mind doesn't go, hang on a second, let me do this. So one of the things that is the easiest thing to have jump on board is another emotion. Okay, so you recognize that fear flag, you change that fear flag into a different vibration. So what most don't know is that every emotion holds its own unique power. Okay, anger is actually one of those. Now, obviously, I don't want a bunch of really angry people running around. This is a tool to use. It's part of your arsenal. It's a tool to use when you need it. So when you're in the middle of something like, for example, a psychic attack, and you're laying there and you are frozen, and you're like, wait just a second, and your mind starts kicking in going, I know what's going on. Help, help, help. Change that fear into anger, because anger is, even though it has a negative connotation kind of in our language, anger is a very powerful energy that will push whatever's on you off of you. It will actually help resolve the situation. So, and again, we only want to use this against negative entities for this example. Aim your anger at the attacker and yell no or stop. That will break the attack. I had this happen to me one day, and I say day because I was just waking up. It was one morning. And I did exactly what I'm teaching you, where my fear flag jumped up. I was being psychically attacked. I switched it to anger, and I was like, stop, stop, stop. And then as soon as I got that energy out and pushed it off, I turned over and woke up my husband. And I said, Eric, my husband's name's Eric. I'm like, Eric, do you see anything? And he didn't tell me at the time because he knew I was already in panic mode. He waited until about an hour later to tell me that he did actually see this big gray mass lift off of me and fly out the window. And for those of you who don't know my husband, that's very unusual for him. He doesn't see ghosts or see spirits. He doesn't really see a whole lot. He is like the counterpart. He's more of a sleeper with knowledge. So, but yeah, even he was able to see that. So psychic attacks really do happen, especially for people that are going through a spiritual awakening. So you want to know how to handle something like that so that you're not afraid of it if it happens. Fear is what they're looking for. Fear is their food. Fear is what they're trying to draw off of you. That's the energy that gives them the power to keep going. Anger isn't, and then you can immediately, of course, follow that up with clearing your space. Clear yourself, clear your space, world's fastest meditation, energy blast them with the ball. That's what you want to do. So you want to open up your toolbox and use your energy clearing tools to make sure that it stays away. Yeah, and it did. So let's see how we're doing for time. Wow, 5 minutes to spare. All right. So let me open this back up. So I'm going to stop sharing now. We're going to go back into screen mode. So at this point, if anybody has a question, just put up your hand. I'll see if I can answer it because this is, like I said, kind of new to me. Nobody. Oh, Rebecca. Okay. To unmute.
Oh, goody. I can ask a question now.
Yes, you can.
Well, I just kind of was highlighting in pink some of the things, but I was just thinking about the psychic attack, and I had this experience. Can this happen in dreams?
Yes.
Because I woke up a couple nights ago, and I woke up in the middle of the night, or I don't know if it was probably 3 or 4 in the morning, but I just had this overwhelming feeling of like darkness and dread, but there wasn't anything really reflecting in my life that was, it felt more like not me.
Yes. That's the first key to recognizing it right there, is the fact that you recognize that it was not you. Okay. Yeah. Second off, when you feel those feelings, it's because, hang on, I just grab a sip of water. I've been talking too long without water. When you are going through something like that and something is in your space, they don't even have to necessarily be attacking you, but sometimes these beings want to be around you to try to draw off your energy. Mm-hmm. It's just par for the course. There's yin and yang in the world, right? So there's good entities and there's bad entities. And so as long as we have the knowledge to know how to handle the bad entities, which is you know, kind of what we're talking about, where the fears come in, because nobody wants to be attacked, right?
Yeah.
That energy, just being able to recognize that first, and then being able to go, okay, my fear flag's jumping up. How do I want to change this? So I want to change this into using my toolbox. You know, I want to be able to take out my tools. I want to clear this. So that's why I was saying that, you know, you don't always have sage handy. You don't always have a clearing tool that's like a physical tool handy. That's why I teach people the energy clearing, so that you always have that with you. Always, always. And it's actually the strongest form of it too.
This is so cool, because like when I woke up, I remember thinking to myself that I know I was thinking, like, why would I be feeling this when right now, all of a sudden I had this really big bliss that just came into my life. Like all of a sudden things were really, and I thought, oh, that's why. It's that yin yang thing that you're talking about. So all that bliss made me wide open, and then like this. And so can I use white light to maybe fill the room when that happens, or?
Exactly what you want to do. So first and foremost, like I said, I always tell people, focus on yourself first. So if you feel like there's something that's kind of icky and hanging around you, do world's fastest meditation.
Okay.
Clear yourself out. Make sure that there's nothing that can harm you. So as a person who's either empathic, intuitive, you know, dreamers, psychics, mediums, kind of goes up a little food chain there. Everybody in that food chain experiences these attacks sometimes, because you're working with a higher level of energy. You are a higher frequency, and they see those things and they try to kind of drag off of it. So like you said, when you're in a moment of abundance, or you're in a moment of happiness and purity, and it's like all of a sudden something like that comes in, you're like, what? Why? And you just want to make sure that as long as you have your tools, boom, you know.
Yeah.
And so I always keep my house so clear, because I have my, you know, I literally work out of my home now. I haven't, you know, I used to have a big office and people there and all the fancy stuff, and, you know, thank you internet and COVID. But you know, now, because I do work with people out of my home, I actually make sure that it's 10 times clearer than it was before, so that no one in my house has to experience anything along those lines. So hang on just a second. I'm going to put you, so if you wouldn't mind muting really quick, I have another question. So hopefully that helped answer. Vanessa?
Yes. I just thought this would be a good question to have answered. Let's say, like you're talking about, you keep your space really clear and you work hard at that. How do negative energies get in to attack you, like when you're sleeping? If you're working so diligently to keep your space clear, how do they get in?
So at that time when that happened, my husband and I were going through a large shift in our life. So I think we might have had like a weak spot somewhere. And so as soon as that happened, of course, I cleared the heck out of everything. And so it did take care of it. And we haven't had an occurrence since then. Pregnancy, a lot of times women are more susceptible during pregnancy. So pregnant women will be attacked, because I call it the 2-for-1 deal. It's like they basically are attacking two spirits at the same time. So women that are pregnant, especially, you know, I always tell people, and like, if you're pregnant, keep yourself really clear, keep your space clear. If you are friends with someone who's pregnant, keep them clear, try to protect them. I mean, it's just a matter of just kind of upkeep. So, and if you feel or recognize something that's off, it only takes a minute to clear with the energy. So,
and being ill or chronically ill or having something like cancer, that can attract them as well, correct?
It can create weak spots. Most of us have illness of some sort, because our meat suits weren't designed perfectly. I'm yet to meet the perfect person with a perfect meat suit. So I would suggest that if you have chronic illness, obviously keep things clear. The white light helps heal you too. So, you know, for people, like I have chronic back problems. When I started clearing, my back problems have not been a problem in years, knock on wood. But, you know, you're literally healing yourself too when you're doing world's fastest meditation by using that white light through your body. So that's why I was saying during the class that when I have a stomach ache, I will use world's fastest meditation to try to release that pain. So yes, I'm go ahead and let's see, is there anybody else with a question? Okay, so what I do want to let you know, one last thing before we get going, is that teenagers are like sponges for these things. Anybody that's ever had a teenager that's sensitive probably can feel the stuff that comes off of them sometimes, especially teenage boys. I don't know why, but for some reason, I mean, they all seem to have gaps in their energy. So, and I think it's from hormones and drama and all the stuff that they're literally growing through, not just going through, but growing through. So teenagers are incredibly toxic when it comes to your energy space. So you want to make sure they are cleared as much as possible. In fact, teaching them how to take care of themselves on that level is not a bad idea. You know, I work with teenagers that are going through high levels of, you know, experiences because they're gifted. And with those teenagers, a lot of times I'm like, clear, because they're just more susceptible because of the amount of, like I said, body changes, hormone changes. And I think that's one of the reasons pregnant women are too. Men, they seem fine. I don't know. I'm just joking. Everybody goes through it. So you always want to make sure that you take care of your energy level, because it's part of maintaining not just your meat suit, but your soul, you know, and you want to, you know, like attracts like. So when you keep your energy at a higher level, you attract that back into your life. So that's why this class, even though this is just the very first class, that's why the information in this class, there's so many tools to put in your toolbox that will be invaluable throughout the rest of the class. That's why I wanted to teach you these things first. So any more questions? And if you do have any more questions or you come up with something after the class, feel free to write them down, keep them in your journal. Don't forget to use your confidence log. And then thank you everybody for coming today. And I will have this video uploaded as soon as possible. I'm not going to be editing the bloopers out, so hopefully everybody will enjoy those. Okay, everybody, thank you. Yes,
I just wanted to point out, somebody had asked me how long the class was today. I'm sorry, I added on the time that I have on my calendar for today set aside for any questions I have with Jen for after. So I apologize for giving the wrong answer.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, so I figured at the end of class, if we have time, that I'll answer a few questions. I wasn't sure how fast I was going to get through everything because I have so much information to share. So that's why I told everybody to leave about an hour, you know, at least an hour, and then up to an hour and a half for every class, just so that we can make sure we cover everything. Does that answer your question? So, all right. Well, then everybody have a wonderful week. Don't forget to practice your tools. We'll do a little review at the beginning of next week, and I will see you then. Bye.
Bye.